What is up, everybody? Unrested back after Oban week has finished. One quick announcement before I get started with the video. I will be doing a live stream with Victor, give me a break, give me a flake man, on Friday, 11 p.m. Tokyo Standard Time. And I believe another YouTuber on there whose name is ForFun88 will also be joining. We will be talking about things such as DMCA takedowns that we've had to suffer in the past, how cancel culture is becoming more and more prominent all over YouTube, and what the future looks like for many different vloggers all over every sphere of the blogosphere, if you will. If you're any bit interested in that, come join. I'm sure you can ask questions live, talk to us, do whatever. It'll be really chill, really calm, no drama. All right, we're just there to have a nice, relaxed conversation. Anyway, today I wanted to get into the video that I promised, where I would ask all of you, what are the personal questions you have about coming to Japan? Now, when I asked this, a lot of people got it. Thank you so much for sending those questions. You guys sent me some great questions. Some people kind of got it a little bit mixed up. I figured this would happen. It kind of always does. I asked that, you ask your own personal questions about things you're personally worried about coming to Japan, and hold off on anything cultural. But some people still did ask, like, what's the tallest mountain in Japan and stuff. Like, that's okay. It's all right. Like, I mean, obviously I'll keep making JFAQ and answering those questions, but this is going to be the video to answer those personal questions. And I was actually able to, instead of making one video for each question, which would be like a video after day after day after day, that would just pile up into too many personal answered questions that may be too esoteric to each person who asked them, I decided to kind of group them into targets that I wanted to hit. And one of the first and most important that covered a lot of topics was mental health in Japan, as far as people worried about their own mental health coming to Japan, like how to make sure they're living a stable life, if they're coming here with maybe something they're dealing with, when is the right time to say, yes, it's totally okay to come here, when is it not the right time, when should you head back home if things get too bad, what are some things you can do to combat, like depression, coming down and up from all different highs and lows, hills and valleys that you may face while living here in Japan. So what I did is I made a list on my second phone, like I always do. I have two phones, and I record on this phone and I make lists on the other one, and I'm going to go through bit by bit with what were the most popularly asked questions. Of course, there's a ton more stuff I could answer and go off on tangents. I'm going to try and just stick to what was like the most popular question that was asked again and again and again. So the first one was, when is it okay to come to Japan, and when is it okay not to come to Japan when dealing with something involving mental health? This is a very tricky question because everybody reacts to mental health in a different way. I guess the one objective thing I can say to anybody across the board is, don't come to Japan if you're trying to run from mental health. And when I say run from mental health, I don't mean like you feel like you need a little change in your life, you're bored with your job, let's try out Japan. That's okay. That's not you running from some desperate mental health situation. Maybe if you're just bored with your current situation, it's not such a bad idea. That's mostly kind of the reason I came here. I just wanted to keep teaching, and I knew I could get a teaching job in Japan. I would say don't come here if you're running away from a major mental health tragedy, a death in the family, a major loss. Maybe it be a person, a place, a thing, a job. If you're completely crushed and depressed by that, it's not time to run away with it. I would definitely deal with it first, get some kind of counseling for it first, and then come over, and then make your plan to come over. I don't suggest trying to let Japan sidetrack you for a bit and then later have that catch up to you. It will work. If you come to Japan during something really bad like that, it probably will distract you for a while because it is so amazing and beautiful and fun when you first get here. But then you'll be stuck in a foreign country with that same overwrought sense of depression or whatever's been bringing you down back in your home state, home country, wherever. Okay, so I would say definitely deal with that first. So that's one reason why you shouldn't come over here. Don't come over here to escape a major mental health problem, okay? The other one, this is kind of more, I don't know if I call this exactly mental health, but maybe kind of just like a mental fixation someone might have on Japan. It's okay to come over here if you want to study certain things that you know are like very stable properties of Japan. So for example, if you're here to come study Japanese history, obviously you can go to all the historical sites. They're not leaving anytime soon. But if you come here following a trend, you may find that trend is obsolete or outdated. I've seen some people who come over here following just for anime or manga or some series they're like really excited about, and they want to come over here and talk to Japanese people about it. And while there might be some Japanese people who are excited to talk and discuss, and you may even find some merchandise and things to be really excited about for your favorite whatever, oftentimes you'll find that most Western countries are very far behind Japan as far as what is popular here. So a series or something that you may have been really into in the past is kind of completely forgotten, an old-time fad when you get here. And people sometimes end up coming here following something they were very excited about and getting utterly depressed to the point that they having some sort of aggression towards Japan for not showing the same enthusiasm that they still have. And I found that kind of odd. Now I realize this is not the most common stable mind that would do such a thing, but just let it be said, okay? If you're coming here to follow a trend, maybe consider some other ideas too. Like maybe think about studying some of the arts here, or studying some of the history here, or learning about if that thing is even still popular here. Make sure you're checking websites that are not insanely obsolete or out of date. A lot of the information on the internet can be very, very behind the times, written by like maybe somebody who was a teacher here back in 2007, okay? I was a teacher here back in 2007, and a lot of my videos from that time are now out of date. Luckily, I can, have a timestamp on those that shows, and if people message me personally and say, wait, you said this back then, is this still true? I can correct myself. But just be careful with that. Be careful with the information that you're using to set up your trip. That could cause you some mental anguish when you get here, and it's not all in the right place. Most important setups for mental health, how to make sure you're going to have some very stable connections to Japan when you get here and be able to have a very easy to set up life. Number one, I know a lot of people ask me about, can they have their medication sent over here? That's really iffy. That is not something I can say yes to everything 100%. I have heard there are some different mental health medication that you cannot or would have a lot of trouble getting shipped over here, or that you may need to have your doctor call a mental health doctor here, a psychiatrist here, and confer with them that they will be sending the pills to that doctor, who is allowed to have medical deliveries to his hospital, and then he can then distribute them to you, keeping you out of any kind of trouble for, I guess, sending anything they would consider illicit drugs through the mail. And I know some people are like, well, what are you talking about? I'm prescribed to all this stuff. Like, if I'm prescribed, like, how am I going to go to jail for prescribed drugs? Trust me, it can happen, okay? The most famous story I know of here is that a CEO of Toyota from America came over here, and all she simply did was put some Oxycontin in a jewelry case at the bottom of the jewelry case. Now, she said she had just forgotten about these Oxycontin in the bottom of her jewelry box because she had gotten them a long time ago, dropped them at the bottom, and there was a bunch of jewelry all over the top of them. And how could I ever know they were there at the bottom with all this jewelry scattered all over the top? But when the police investigated it, they found out like almost all the jewelry in that jewelry box was like super fake, like, pawn shop garbage, and that it was most likely just used to hide those drugs she wanted to get over here, I guess. I don't know. Anyway, she, lost her job, went to jail, got sent back to America, was deported, can't come back for 10 years. You don't want to be that person, okay? And yes, I have heard of even people getting things like Adderall, something as Adderall, like it gets sent to them in the mail, and, the police take them in and say, this is considered like a level whatever narcotic, Do I think prescribed mental health drugs are narcotics? No. Okay. Can they be abused? Yeah. Yeah, they can. They can. You can find things here in Japan that are supposedly inequivalent, but I think most times you're going to find almost anything Japan calls inequivalent is not. Okay, so if you absolutely need to take a very important mental health medication that is very strong or very heavy, or you know, absolutely needs to be prescribed to you and you have to take to keep everything in check, I would, number one, check with your own doctor to see how you would be getting them over here, if you can continue to get shipments of it, if you can do Skype calls to do prescriptions. I don't know how you would, or maybe they have like a sister hospital over here, or maybe they're super lucky and have a Japanese friend who's also a doctor, although the medical license for Japanese doctors and American doctors are completely different. You can't take one from one country to the other. Although I think some Japanese doctors are allowed to practice in Hawaii and California. I think there are some hospitals there that allow a Japanese license. I could be wrong on that though. So yeah, look into that, really research that well, and see if there's something you can set up. I mean, if it absolutely cannot, cannot happen, cannot be shipped, you could look into the equivalents, but that is definitely something I would Google. Like, check out what those equivalents are. Like, I know there is nothing as strong as Adderall out here. No, I don't take Adderall. I did take an AD&D, Advanced Dungeons and Dragons drugs. ADHD. I took a medicine for that for a while, but if it did something I didn't notice, it was some kind of herbal thing. Like it was like the equivalent to Chinese medicine, it felt like to me. And sorry, maybe some people think Chinese medicine is really great. I think it's all garbage, like all that herbal Chinese stuff. To me, I've never noticed anything different. It seems like the same powders, the one you take for a broken leg, a bloody nose, and ADD, so whatever, man. Like, to each their own. You've had your own reactions to your own medication. You know how it affects you. Look into it, research it, Google it. Okay, so that's like the most important thing to check to make sure you have in order when you get over here. But there is like, let's see, I got 3 other things listed here to make sure you have set up. Okay, make sure you have some sort of housing figured out before you get over here. Yeah, you can come here and stay at a hotel for a while. If that's all you want to set up, like if you're just going to be over here on a tourist visa, then yeah, it's probably only 3 months anyway. You'll be okay to just chill in a hotel for 3 months. You may have to hotel hop quite a bit, but that's fine. That's not really, but if you're looking to do the whole work visa thing, which a lot of holiday work visa can be done at any country except for, I believe, America is the only one that can't. So if you're looking to do that, you're usually here, I believe, for 6 months. Maybe it's longer in some countries, and you can correct me in the comments below. Obviously, as an American, I haven't gone through the visa system of multiple Western countries. I can't even get a passport in your country, so I don't know what kind of visas you can get. But make sure if you are doing that, if you are doing the working holiday visa, I would say at the very least, you should probably stay in like a share house or like a hostel, or look into some kind of pre-set up like rental room in a place. I wouldn't suggest trying to hotel hop all the time while also trying to work a job part-time or full-time in Japan, because that could probably get pretty hectic when your day ends at a workplace and you find out you can no longer reserve a hotel room and you have to find a new room and bring all your clothes and suitcases to work. So that that's too much. I mean, you're constantly traversing the train here. You're walking to a lot of the places that you're going. You do not want to be lugging around like 3 massive suitcases to and from the job you're trying to go to as you switch hotels. Get that stuff set up beforehand. I know some of these some of these setup things are kind of like really obvious, but you shouldn't always expect common sense is international. Just look into that. Make sure you got something very stable set up if you are going to do the work or work holiday visa. Okay. Speaking of which, with the visa, make sure your visa status is all up to date. Also check like that everything you're doing is legit. Like, research the visa company. Some of these visa companies can be kind of sketchy. I had one before I came to Japan that was like, hey, we can't get you a work visa right away, but what we'll do is we'll send you there on a tourist visa for 3 months. You'll work a job under the table, and then we'll send you to South Korea, we'll get it changed to a working visa, and then you'll come back to Japan. If they catch you doing that, oh, what is that? Something finished. Oh, the dishwasher. I was like, is it somebody's alarm going off? If they catch you doing that, you're gonna end up with some kind of penalty or some kind of like deportation. Like, they do not like you screwing with their system. You may have done this in other countries and they found out and were like, okay, come on, man, don't do that again. All right. I've heard like Australia's pretty nice. Like, if you're whatever the equivalent to a gaijin card is in Australia, if I heard if that goes due, like if an immigration person sees it, they're like, dude, you better get that like updated, man. You're gonna get in trouble. But in Japan, it's not like that. It's not like, dude, you better look into it. It's like jail, back to your country, bye, never come back. Okay, so just don't screw with that stuff. Don't mess around with that stuff. Okay. Oh, also, make sure any important papers that you're going to need to bring over, like, call your company ahead of time and make sure you've got everything. If you need to bring your degree over, I know that sounds weird to actually bring a degree over. You don't have to bring it in the frame. I don't understand people who, like, bring it in a glass frame and then get really upset and angry that the frame broke in their suitcase. It's like, you know, you can take it back out of the frame and put it into a folder. Like, what do you know, you put it between two pieces of cardboard if you're worried about it getting folded up or something, like, you know, but make a copy of everything. Don't come here with just one single copy. You know, if you lose any of that stuff, you may be totally screwed out of getting back home. That might be important. Also, I guess now the most recent update that I would have never said before is check into if COVID's going to be coming around again. If it is, then you may not be able to get back to your country. Recently, you may have heard Busan Kevin. He's been stuck in Japan for a while now because he hasn't been able to take a flight back. He's had to hop around all different types of places. I feel bad for the dude. It's not his fault at all. All right, he's just been screwed over because of this whole flight COVID thing, and he's stuck in a rough situation trying to move around with a family of 4. So that would not be fun. If I had to do that right now, I'd be freaking out. Okay. So let's get into setting up that whole job thing. This is kind of important, I guess. Not just setting up a job, it might also be like an internship, or maybe even just something you want to study, or maybe even doing an exchange student type thing. Research the company that you might be working for. Research who's bringing you over there if it's with a group. Like, for example, there is like farm work groups that'll let you work on a rice farm. Check into past user reviews. I know these are some obvious things, but you'd be surprised how many people never check into this stuff. They work for Nova or ECC or GABA, and they're like, I can't believe they gave me these horrible hours and never paid me enough to have a living wage. It's like, did you read anybody's reviews on these companies that never pay enough? Like, you know, that try to trap you into like their apartments and make you pay their fees, and like research this stuff heavily before you come over here. Japan, for the most part, it has less scams than the average country because they somewhat regulated, and there is a loss of face if you scam people. But that doesn't mean scams are completely gone from this country, dude. There's still scams here. There's businesses run by people outside of Japan who will scam you to come to Japan, and people within Japan and Japanese people themselves that will scam you. Scams are not 0% here. There are scams. Check into it. You can be abused very easily because you are a person in a country who might come here not being able to speak the language and without any kind of like legal rights. Like, you may even say, well, I'm going to sue your company, and they're like, yeah, go ahead, do it. Yeah, sure. Because they know you're, you barely have any money because they didn't pay you. How are you going to hire a lawyer? No one's going to work pro bono for you. You can't speak the language. You're not going to hire an international lawyer. Don't be ridiculous. And I guess, I don't know why that's always thrown around so much. Like, people always say, I'm going to sue you, like lawyers work for free. Like, it just, no, you're not. You're going to go home and cry. All right. So, if you're going to go into English teaching, check all the different English companies out. Try to start to find websites where they're not overly used and abused. I used to always push gaijinpot.com, and I'm not saying it's a bad site now, but I mean, to be able to get noticed on that website is almost impossible. Like something like, 3,000 to 5,000 people apply to all the jobs on there. You're never going to get seen. And, sometimes people write to me, they're like, Scott, I've applied again and again and again, and I never can get any job on there. Just stop using that. Like, there's other sites out there. There's Daijobu. There's, Kansai Flea Market, there's Ohio Sensei, there's so many other websites. Like, just do a little more Googling, okay? Google some other like websites that have jobs here in Japan. Just recently here in Daikokucho, close to where I live, there was a company opened up that's called Yes Japan. And they have a new setup where you can work in apprenticeship in a company that wants to teach a gaijin a trade that they do here. And it might just be like some local electronic trade or factory trade or something like that, but it's more than just English teaching is what I'm trying to say. I'm not saying they're going to teach you how to make katanas, okay? You're not going to learn the art of bonsai. Don't expect it to be something like that amazing. I mean, that would be incredible to get a senpai for that. So they'll bring you into this company, they'll put you in a training group, they'll teach you the language surrounding that. That means as in the lexicon around whatever you're learning, so that you're not just learning Japanese, but you're learning the words that rotate around the job that you're trying to work. You'll get trained. You'll work for, I think, a reduced pay while you're getting trained. But then if you make it through all their training and everything, you'll get the full pay of what a starting person would in that company, and they'll take you on. And I mean, if you get a job in some sort of like trade in Japan and you get all the training and they give you the menkyo, the license or the card, you can probably stay with that company forever unless you just do something totally crazy. Japan is, while sometimes it is very hard for gaijin to get into certain job positions that are outside of English teaching, if you do get into it and you do prove yourself to the Japanese, they'll treat you as far as any other employee as far as rights are concerned, like, not just putting you on a 1-year contract and sending you back home. They'll look into getting you like full status with them, their health benefits, national health care. As an American, you'll be blown away by national health care. It's so cheap, I can't believe it. As a Canadian, you'll hate it. You'll say, this is so unfair. But okay, like I just said, I want to cut into the job thing just a little bit more. The one problem I still kind of get is people asking about jobs that take a very specific type of training. Now, I'm not dissuading you from going into these jobs, okay? If your true passion in life is bonsai tree cutting, you want to learn how to manipulate multiple layers of steel to make the ultimate katana, okay, but like, have you ever like done blacksmithing at your house before, or like, and when I say like blacksmithing, I mean like the really old school type. Do you have like a portfolio of what do you call flower art? Starts with a P. I don't know. I forget what you call it. Topiary. Do you have a topiary portfolio? If not, how serious are you? Like, I've had people tell me before that they want to be mangaka and they want to be an anime artist, they want to work for Ghibli. Like, that's awesome, that's great. I'm glad you have these very amazing goals, but let's think about the reverse, okay? All right, let's say there's a Japanese kid here and he's like, yo, I love Captain America, I want to work for Marvel Comics, okay? Do you speak any English? Nah, Eigo wa dekinai. Do you have like a huge portfolio of like comic books you've drawn? Do you have like cell art? Do you have a lot of sequential art that you can put into your portfolio and show off to Marvel when you get there? Do you know digital art? Do you know how to... No, I haven't finished high school yet. Okay. You're probably not gonna get a job at Marvel, Mr. Japanese student, okay? Like, sorry, but now that's... As you hearing that, you're probably like, well, yeah, of course that kid would never get a job at Marvel in America without being able to speak English and without being able to like show them a massive portfolio. So think about it in the reverse. Like, would you be able to do the same? Could you show up to Shonen Jump with your massive like mangaka portfolio, all the mangas that you've helped on, your personal like works that you've done? I mean, like behind me, you can see like this is all artwork I do on my free time. Like, this is like my hobby. And I don't think I have the skill or the ability or the work ethic to be a mangaka. I personally do not think I do. And like, this is stuff like I draw like at least every day. All right. I mean, I don't draw as many hours as any mangaka person. I don't have that much time. But those guys work like 10 to 12 hour days. They sometimes only eat one meal a day and sleep at their studio. And like, I mean, I don't know how they do it. Look into the lives of some of the people who started up in mangaka and like how hardcore these guys work. And then some people talking to me about Ghibli, like, do you really think you can go work for Ghibli and you don't speak any Japanese? Like, come on now, be realistic, man. All right? I don't think my Japanese would be good enough to get into any Japanese art company, honestly, because I just don't even know the lexicon around like all kinds of words. Like I couldn't say chiaroscuro in Japanese. Like, you know, I couldn't say vanishing point in Japanese. I don't know how to say words like art words like that. So, you know, I don't think I'd ever get in. So if I myself, somebody who's lived here 13 years, draws every day, says I do not qualify to get into being a mangaka or an anime artist, like think about your own. Like, now if you're hardcore devoted, like one time I had a guy I talked to on Skype, he said every day I've been drawing like 300 pictures of like, you know, today I'll work on just doing anime arms, today I'll just do faces. And that he had a friend who worked in the business here, and that guy was telling him what he should be working on every day, like treating him like he was a kohai and a senpai relationship. That seemed like the most serious person I ever talked to, okay? And I think if his Japanese is good enough and he gets here and he's speaking on a damn near fluent level, he has a chance to get a foot in the door. And I mean, this guy was busting his ass. I wish I could have helped him out more. I just didn't have any connections in that business here. If that's you, then, you know, look into it. But really, I mean, let's be honest. If you're really that serious, you're not just listening to some random guy on the internet talk about Japan if you're getting into a job that's that qualified, okay? I've got a ton more questions to answer still. I mean, you guys had so many and they were really good. There's actually one question I got asked that I feel like deserves its own video. And people were asking me, how do you deal with someone who gets angry or mad in Japan, or how should you deal with confrontation in Japan? Because it's very different than how you would deal with it in America. Like, if you start getting super aggressive and want to get into a fight, you can actually get arrested and sent back home. So how should you deal with it in the workplace? And I think that's a great question to break up into its own video, just due to the fact that there's so many different situations where how you handle yourself would really change as far as like the amount of anger you would show, what the most polite and appropriate way is to handle it, when it's okay to finally, you know, push back a little more aggressively. Non-toka, you get it. This video is almost at 30 minutes now, so I better cut it off here. Guys, again, I'll be on Give Me a Break, Give Me a Flake Man's channel. I don't know which channel exactly. I think he posted a video about it yesterday. I helped him with 2 quick clips I made for it. So whichever one you see those clips on, or the channel I'll be on, and it will be live 11 p.m. Tokyo Standard Time, Friday. Okay? I'll see you then. You guys stay safe, stay healthy. I'll talk to you real soon.